Okay, so far we've explored inheriting from an existing class. We've explored building an interface and implementing that interface. And now let's look at a third option, which is kind of a mixture between the two, called an abstract interface. So earlier in these videos, we've been talking about abstract in a variety of senses. But for this example, abstract means something very specific, much like interface did in this previous example. So let's go to the file browser and open up the ninth step, which is called converting to an abstract class. Go ahead and copy the code and paste it over the code that's currently in your index.php file and save it. Now scroll up here until we get to the page class, and here we are. So you see that this uses the abstract keyword, but that the page class is still a class. Now abstract simply means that this class cannot be used outside of being inherited from. So we couldn't call the class page from our code without causing some errors. And that's all that this abstract means. Now within the class, we can implement functions just like we could in a non-abstract class. So you see we have the constructor here and we have the build method here. But in an abstract class, we can also define an abstract method. And this works exactly the way that an interface does. It says that any class inheriting from this class needs to implement this function. So you see here we have default page, and it's extending the page class up here. And we're implementing the function theme. And if we scroll down to the printed page as well, we'd see that this implements the theme method as well. Now let's just make sure this works by going to the browser and refreshing. Looks good. Now if we did the same thing that we did with our interface and we added an abstract function here that isn't being implemented by the other classes that inherit from it, and we save this, and then we jump back to the browser and refresh, you'd see an error similar to what we saw with an interface. It's saying that contains one abstract method and therefore must be declared abstract or implement the remaining methods. So let's jump back to the editor here. So the advantage of using this abstract class, I'm just scrolling up a little bit, is that we can define methods that are common for anything that inherits from it. So whereas with an interface, we had to duplicate the build function and the constructor, with an abstract class, we can define those in the base class, and so they don't have to be redefined by the classes that extend from it. But we also have the advantage of telling the classes that inherit from it specific things that they need to do to behave in the way that we expect. So if we expect them to implement certain functions, we can specify that here. Now it probably won't come into play too much with simple applications, but abstract classes require more processing than interfaces. Interfaces aren't technically classes, they don't implement code and they don't have to be compiled in the same way. So if that comes into play, or you think that might come into play down the road with whatever it is that you're building, maybe explore the performance implications before you move forward.